What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Every Dad Podcast.
You said that like you don't have a knife.
Right here. What are you talking about, dude? You've missed an earlier discussion about the manliness of carrying knives, and evidently I'm not a man because I don't carry a knife all the time. Anyway, how's it going, boys? You good, Blake? I don't want to talk to you. Ty, how you doing, brother?
Brother, I'm good, man.
good?
Yeah, I just was shopping online for some knives.
Were you?
because I don't have any.
Nice.
Yeah.
And,
Rob, you good?
Good.
How's life?
It's going good.
Yeah.
Hectic.
Yeah.
It's good though. Just got back from vacay with the fam. So that's
Sweet.
always-
Where'd you go?
It's always fun. Whoa.
Hey, I'm running this thing, Blake. You be quiet.
we
you
went to
going?
visit her family in Atlanta and then caught a Savannah Bananas game at
Nice.
Truist. So that was
When you said
That's pretty
Atlanta, I
cool.
thought that's not a vacation, and then you saved it with
Yes,
Savannah
yes.
Bananas. Yeah,
Mm.
that's
Yep.
good. So Gary was there.
we went to the Sunday game and they were at the Saturday game.
Ah.
Gary who?
Gary Chestnut.
No,
Yeah, the guy we just talked to last episode.
really?
Yeah.
I don't know how that didn't come up.
So, Blake,
Small
how you doing, man?
I'm happy to be
Hey,
here.
so we are ready.
Uh-huh.
No, I'm just kidding. You good, buddy?
I'm good. Yeah, thank you for asking. I
We'll
appreciate
work
it.
out our differences after the episode, man.
I have a feeling we'll keep playing golf together. So
I'm sure,
our
yeah.
differences aren't
Yeah, that's fine.
too extreme.
Hey, so we want to say a couple things. This is episode number 21, and Ty's got some stats for us here in a minute, but we're just going to kind of talk about the past few episodes. This will be our last episode just for a little bit. We're going to take a break over the summertime, spend some time with our families, spend some time being dads. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back in September. And we're going to have a season-type format. So y'all be looking out for that. Continue to like and subscribe and follow and ask questions and all that stuff. But today we're just going to kind of talk through the last 20 episodes, man, and just kind of talk about some highlights of that, talk about what God's been doing in this Every Dad podcast because it's been kind of cool. We've seen some, we had some expectations beginning, and we've seen God kind of move through that, and it's been really cool to see and hear the stories and talk about conversations and just some of the things that have happened with the podcast. So, Ty, I'll let you kind of talk through some of that, man. But
Sure.
It's kind of not a sad moment, kind of an exciting sad moment. Sad, exciting. Is that a word?
I'm not sad.
You're not sad.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, the reason why I'm not sad is just because it is the end of what we would probably describe as, I don't even know what you would call it. If it was on Netflix, you'd call it a pilot episode or
Yeah.
like a pilot season. But really, it was almost just like a trial run, like
Yeah.
a test run type thing, just
'Cause
to
we
see.
didn't know.
Just to see, we had never done a podcast before. I mean, some of us had, but most of us had never done a podcast before, and some of us had never even really spoken into a mic in front of a camera, and so had very little to no expectations of how we thought this podcast was going to go. And just to be honest, it's absolutely blown at least me away. I can't speak for all of you guys, but I intentionally chose to sit in this spot because we've moved a little bit. We used to have couches, now we've moved to chairs. It's more professional, and so I don't know if that's why we moved or not, but.
Honestly, I think we moved to chairs because Rob and I would sit on the end, and we were a little bit chubbier
That
than
wide
you guys.
angle lens.
It
And now,
hides
yeah,
my
like the
midsection
way
a
that
little better.
What's Up Media
maybe
would
it
set up the
doesn't, I don't know.
camera would make
what I'm
Robbie
telling
and I
myself.
look chubby.
Yeah.
Yes, we are chubby. We understand that, but like the
No
camera
one said
added,
anything
so
about you
Did it
being
motivate
chubby.
you to get in the gym a little more?
I am kind.
would be a
I am smart.
good result.
I am
Yeah.
important.
So anyway, so I sat here, and because I was sitting here in the very beginning, the first episode, when I was asked that question, but only at the very beginning of our journey, and just to see what God has done through this, and we'll get a chance to talk about some
Yeah.
of my favorite stories and some of the favorite episodes and some of the favorite moments that we've got here. But mostly excited simply because this is just the end of the first kind of trial run, if you will, and we have some pretty exciting plans for what
Yeah.
we want God to, or what we feel like God's going to do and use the podcast for in the future as well. So it's almost kind of like like you said, I mean, bittersweet's kind of a good thing. But I wanted to go back to, in the very beginning, we set the tone on a goal that we had, and the reason why we're kind of ending on episode 21 is actually a conversation we filmed him just a couple of weeks ago, Brad Bromlow, and so
Fat and
shout
weird guy.
out to Brad.
Well,
not
fat,
fat,
weird
not
cookie
weird,
guy.
but
Sorry.
was
Fat and Weird
the
Cookie,
owner
he's
of the
not
Fat and Weird Cookie Company.
Yeah.
Yep, actually just did a pretty big marathon over in Disney, I guess. So shouts out to him.
Yeah,
pretty
I was
sure.
there.
Pretty sure he finished. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you see him from the top of the roller coaster?
I sure did.
Nice. And so the statistic that he threw out in the very beginning was that 90%, he said that about 2 million podcasts a year start. So that's a lot of people with a lot of ideas and a lot of enthusiasm in the very beginning. And out of that 2 million people, 1.8 million quit before they ever film 3 episodes. And so just by filming 4 episodes, you are in the top 10%. And then out of the 200,000 that continue past episode 3, 90% of them quit after episode 20. So just by filming your 21st episode, you are in the top 1% of all podcasts that are started in a year. And we set out to do that. And so very excited that not based on quality, but only based on perseverance. We are in the top 1% of podcasts in the world. So that's pretty cool.
Can I put that on my resume?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know that it'll
Top
help.
1%.
You've been,
It's already in my bio.
yeah. It's kind of like when Eminem won the rap battle. It's like, I mean, it didn't change his life at all, but you can put it on your resume if you want.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's wild, though. It's like he went to work at his minimum wage job the next day, but he beat
Yeah,
Clarence.
but he had respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put some respect on it. He beat Clarence.
All right, so let's talk about like just the last several episodes, man. Like one of the things that's kind of stood out to me and that I've really tried to, you know how something just gets on the forefront of your brain and you just think about it all the time. Like I've really been thinking about, we've kind of, the whole theme that we've worked through is just intentionality of being a dad and being a husband. And, you know, I've tried to, I don't know how great I've done at it, but I've tried to bring in intentionality with my wife and my kids and even in conversations or just things that we do, even as I teach or relationships that I'm building through the job. You know, there's intentionality's been huge, and so for me that's been one of those things that's kind of stuck.
Yeah.
And even though I know it, right, I have this intellectual assent of I need to be intentional in my life, but taking it to heart and taking it to, you know, putting it into practice every day. I hope I've done a little bit better with it, but so I'll ask you guys, like, what's some of the things that have kind of stood out for y'all in this podcast? Like maybe something you've learned, or maybe something that you want to, you know, you've taken into the home, even though we're talking about it, leading it, like it's still relevant for us.
For me, it's sort of revealed to me that I know less than I even thought I did.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in like a self-deprecating way.
No,
but
I get it, yeah.
You know, again, I'm, I guess, the newest or youngest dad here. So when we started this, you know, Danny was a few months old. Now she's 17 months old, and a lot has happened since we began this. And I was super excited when we got started. I remember you came to me for the first time and told me about your idea to even do this, and I was just jacked up to even be a dad at that point. And still, and still am. And there's been times
That's
on
good.
Still jacked up or
It's
still a dad?
jacked up
it's
a
better
little bit,
actually.
yeah.
I'm enjoying it more.
All right,
Oddly
good.
enough, it doesn't. Yeah, that hasn't worn off. So I guess I'm succeeding in that regard. But there's times I come in here or we do these things and I feel like I know what I'm talking about and I feel confident about it. I've got some experiences I can share. And then there's other times we have topics where it's like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying. Hopefully, I can figure it out.
Yeah.
But luckily, I'm surrounded by guys like you who might be a little bit further ahead than me, and I hear a story that you might share or that you might share, and you know, start to realize, okay, well, I can apply that to my life. And so, even just being here and showing up, and like you said, having the resilience of just, hey, let's get through 20 and then go from there. Like just consistently showing up here. And I don't know if this ties into what you're talking about in the intentionality thing. There's things in the back of my head as I'm being a dad in my everyday life, and I know that we come on and do these podcasts. I know we're checking on each other from time to time. Like it keeps my conscience in a good spot. You know, I can't come up here and talk about a lot of this stuff if I'm not, at least to my best ability, going home and trying to live that out. So
for real.
That's been a blessing.
Yeah, like even the cell phone episode that we did, right? Like my wife and I had some conversations about keeping us accountable on, making sure the boys are. So every little type of conversation that we've had, we come back and go, let's double check that. Let's make sure that we're actually putting that into practice. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's helped with like having that perspective too, that I'm in the like core foundational years with my kids, with the ages that they are, and to have that, like whether it's being the godly leader I'm supposed to be, parenting with a purpose, like having that intentionality in all the aspects of it. It all kind of goes to still like these stories that we've heard, like Blake said, like the stories that I've shared, or just like, hey man, I read this, like just in the moments of the Friday afternoon with me and the boys, or in the evenings with all of us together, like to make the most of those moments, because it is just, these are those big foundational years. Like they might not remember all the details, but they'll remember the impact, the important thing.
Yeah.
And it's really helped me personally just keep that perspective of that, like parenting with a purpose, making the most of the time that I got.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I would say the same thing, Rob. I think when I think about this, and I don't even remember who said it, because again, we've got at this point 20 episodes full of just wisdom and people that have said different things, and but somebody said that in 5 years from now you'll come back and you would give anything to be even in the most stressful situation that you're in right now, just to be able to have your child back at that age, or that point in their life. And something Liam did the other day, just looking at me, and I'm like, man, this is a young man that I'm having a conversation with. And I remember even just, it feels like yesterday, he wasn't even able to say dinosaur correctly. You know what I mean? And now all of a sudden he's like using logic and like basic mathematical skills, and it blows my mind to think about. He'll be 7 this year, and just to think about how quickly it's gone, and how quickly each and every one of the boys are growing up. It just kind of puts into perspective the preciousness of every moment.
Yeah.
And how intentional it is, or how important it is to be intentional about starting with the end in mind, thinking about exactly, what does that day look like when they launch from your home, and working backwards. And you really, when you do that, you start to see the importance of every moment and every day, and how it all builds on each other.
Yeah.
And so that'd be something that I learned from this, kind of this podcast. It's helped me out a lot.
You just said something that made me.
What was it?
I don't remember what episode it was, but it was a while ago when you mentioned starting at the end, and like what type of person do you want to raise? What does that look like, and how do you get there? And I'm a hypercritical person. I think I've rewatched maybe 2 or 3 of these, because if I rewatch these episodes, I just pick out everything that I didn't like, or that I didn't say, exactly the way I wanted to, or whatever.
we have a list.
You got a book that you
We
can
got
show.
Blake,
we got
just
a
keep it
list
to yourself.
of-
Then.
yeah.
You do realize your words. You did have one video. It was you, and it was 155,000 views on there. So you're worried about what you said, but so
Probably
far
'cause
what
he
you
carries
said.
it
That's
Might be
one.
good.
That's maybe one good example.
Yeah,
blind
well,
squirrel thing.
I mean, I'd say a good example about me.
But
One more.
if you'll let me finish my.
I'm
point here.
sorry.
What I just realized is like that little nugget you just dropped. I'm like, man, I forgot about that one, and I have not done a good job of looking at my 17-month-old with that type of mindset, and it's probably worth me going back and re-listening to these, because I think I'd be probably blessed in my own right. I mean, I was there for all the conversations. I remember them to some extent, but hopefully there's a lot of value packed into these things, because you mentioned something like that. I'm like, that was good. Why did I forget about that already?
sure.
Well, another thing that really stands out to me, which I think we've tried to make this point very well known, is it's okay to have some guys around you, right? Like, as men, we don't want the help. As men, we want to try to fix everything ourselves. As dads, we want to be the perfect dad, thinking we got it all lined out, thinking we got it worked out, but we're really... Like, it's okay to have other dudes around you to have conversations about real life and real things going on. And so I think we've proved that with bringing people on, the interviews that we have, where they're telling their story about how God radically changed their life and how they're using that to teach their kids. And I don't know, like part of this, I want to be able to encourage other dads wherever they are, whatever space of life they're in, is to like, it's okay to have guys to be vulnerable with. It's okay to have guys to open up with. It's okay to have other men that you can share your life with and talk about things to get the help and to get the, you know, the accountability, even though we don't like that word, but like to have that. And so I think part of this has been kind of, for me, eye-opening, going, it's okay. Like, it's okay to have conversations about real life. It's okay to, like, because if you think about it, like, you and I met a couple years ago. I would say it probably took us a little bit, it would have taken us a little bit longer to have some of the deeper conversations that we had, other than because of doing this, we've had some really good conversations about life and family and what's next. And so I'm just saying, like, I think having a community of guys is okay.
Yeah.
Not only okay, I would say it's like crucial.
Yeah,
Needed,
actually,
for sure.
So
What
I'm thankful. I mean, I'm thankful for you guys. Like, I know I'm the old guy in the room, but, you know, thankful for your friendship and your vulnerability and the things that you say and the input that you have in my life. So,
Yeah.
thanks, boys.
Likewise.
Yeah.
I'm also thankful for you, Ryan. No, I'm being serious.
Thanks, Ty.
Hey, so what?
this is awkward.
Maybe there's a favorite. Was there a favorite episode or a favorite thing that happened, or another thing that, you know, I think back to, like, maybe, you know, I know we've all kind of had a couple, maybe just people in our lives that have just taken the time to reach out and say, man, this is a real life example of this podcast helping me as a father. Does anybody have something that, like, kind of sticks out?
Yeah, some of my dudes in Texas, like, you know, they're the guys I grew up with. They're like, man, I listen to it. Like, good job. Like, they're talking to their kids about some of the stuff that we've said, and they're my age, right? They're not just these young dads anymore. They're the experienced dads who are still having conversation with their older kids about some of the things we've talked about here. So, yeah, it's been good.
I'll take it a different direction. I think two pieces of feedback I got that maybe stood out to me come from non-dads. You know, one of my best friends growing up, and a mutual friend of ours, Ben Bryan.
Sure.
Who's not a dad yet, at least at the time that we're recording this. He doesn't really pass out compliments quickly. He likes to joke with you and make fun of you more times than not in a very loving way, of course. But it wasn't like 3 or 4 episodes in, he reached out and was like, "Hey man, I really enjoy listening to this. Obviously, I'm not a dad. A lot of this doesn't apply directly to what I'm experiencing now in my life, but I recognize that what you guys are talking about is desperately needed, like in our society and our culture, and I'm happy you're doing it." He goes, "You guys are all, you know, really well spoken, and it's nice for me to see that there's guys like you out there doing that." And I was like, that, like what you just did, that compliment you gave out, and we got awkward because we're not used to like being real loving. And that was how I felt when he told me that. I was like, that's really, really kind of him. So that stands out to me. And then I've got, you know, a former local high school baseball player that was really, when I first got saved and tried to get involved in certain ministries and reaching out to kids, was one of the first guys I connected with really closely. And he's off actually playing for the Air Force right now. Luke Elmore, become a great friend of mine, and he did a similar thing. He said, "Man, I've started listening to your podcast. Again, not a dad, but I'm learning a lot from you guys." So it was nice to see, and I know we've got some good feedback from women and moms, which maybe we didn't expect to get as much as we did. So I think there's a broader audience here than we originally thought. Certainly more than I originally thought.
And I had a friend, and we were probably like 4 or 5 episodes posted at this point. And he's mowing the grass one day. He starts listening to them, ends up listening to like the first 3 of them while he's cutting the grass. And then, like, his words, I went inside and started putting some of the stuff into practice. And like 3 days after that, like, his wife reaches out to mine, and it was like, "Hey, like, she's noticing a difference just from him putting some of the stuff into practice." And he could have been like, "Hey man, good job. Like, that's cool stuff." But like, it made the difference for him, and he's not a very vocal person, but to take the time make the call and like give some example, like, hey, I've started doing this and I've seen it and I understand I needed to do this more that y'all are talking about. And so to get that like real life example from somebody that I know tangibly and know that that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
That was
That's
like,
cool.
okay, that's why I'm doing it.
And,
No
and let me say this, like, for our listeners, like, we're not just trying to talk about all the good things that we're doing. Like, we're really trying to celebrate what
Mhm.
God has done through this.
Yep, sure.
Like, God has worked in some people's lives. God's worked in our life. We haven't been ashamed of the gospel.
Yep.
We haven't been ashamed of what Jesus has done for us, and we've talked about biblical truth. But we're just trying to celebrate on this last episode for the season.
Mhm.
We're just trying to celebrate the things that God has done through mere human beings, guys that are trying to figure it out, like just had an idea, put it together, and God's done some pretty amazing things. So we're
Yeah.
not trying to self-promote. We're trying to just celebrate what God's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the just kind of takes the cake for me is the conversation that we had about adoption. Just obviously because that's something that is very near and dear to my heart as a result of being adopted. And one of the things that I said, I did not realize that it was going to give voice to multiple parents who had never thought about the way that their adopted child, son or daughter, would feel. They wouldn't want to step on any toes by trying to go and seek out their origin story or seek out their biological parents. And a big fear that I've always had is, well, I don't want my parents, my adoptive parents, to think that I am, trying to disown them or that, I'm not grateful for them. But there is still this part of me that, wants to go and seek after, where I came from. And so I had somebody come up to me afterwards, and say, man, we sat down our daughter and told her, you aren't going to hurt our feelings. We know that you love us. We want you to go and to find those answers, and we want to be able to walk through that process with you. But there'll be, no embarrassment or no frustration or jealousy on our end. And to hear that a lot of parents, of adopted kids just really haven't thought that through or had that conversation with their adopted child. I felt like that was just, extremely meaningful to the kind of direction that the podcast had taken. I thought that was cool.
All right, so I'm going to go off script, all right? And I haven't given you guys this prompt or this question, so we're going to do it off the top of our head. Y'all ready for this? If you could take one thing from the last several episodes or one thing that we can tell dads that they can practically do, what's one thing? If this was our very last episode ever in life on the Every Dad podcast, what is one thing you want somebody to know? I'll start, and I'll give you guys a chance to think about it because I'm the one that thought of the question, so I kind of have something in mind.
I think you're going to say what I was going to say.
How do you know that?
If I can't think of anything, I'm
just
going to
a
say that
guess.
you said what
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
to say.
No, I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier. Like, find somebody in your life. It's okay. Find a group of guys that are in your same life space, not necessarily age, but guys that you can really understand each other and do life and have that honesty and that vulnerability just to be able to have real life conversations. Not this superficial, hey, how was the golf course? How's the weather? But like, hey, let's talk about the things that we're dealing with, going on, things that are going on in our life and family. It's okay to walk that out. Even if my wife is listening to this, she's probably like, who are you saying those words? Like, because, but it is true. I know that you and I have had some pretty deep conversations that have been healthy and good. You and I have had conversations about life. Like, it's good. Like, you and I have very different conversations because I work with these boys and I don't work with. So, and it's good. Like, it's okay. So find somebody, find a group of guys that it's okay just to do life with and be real and honest with, and it's healthy and it's good. That's my tangible. Is that what you're gonna say? That's what you were gonna say.
No, actually,
Oh,
it
good.
wasn't.
Awesome.
We were going in different directions.
Okay.
I think I would say, and I don't even fully understand this, but it's the thing that I would say is kind of been most impactful to me is that my children will either reap the consequences or the blessing of the decisions that I make today and tomorrow. That I am building for my children the inheritance that they will have, whether that is positive or negative.
Yeah.
And that every moment matters. You know, the Apostle Paul talks about taking every thought, every action captive.
Yeah.
And my family, my children, they're the why for that.
Yeah. That's good. Rob, Blake. There's the awkward
Rock,
stares.
paper,
No, I
scissors.
think,
Rob-
I think
Rob
like
looks
one
like he's
little,
got
like
it.
one nugget, like real quick, would be like being a good spouse will make you a better dad.
Dadgummit. I knew I should have talked first.
So I've got the perspective of girl dad, and I've got 2 boys as well. So like, I want my daughter to see the example of how a husband should love a wife, and then I want my boys to see that as well.
Yeah.
Like I want to set the bar super high for her, so she doesn't bring home some idiot. That'll be really hard.
He
for me.
will be an idiot.
He will be an idiot. I will hate him until I don't. And then like I want my boys to be godly men, godly husbands, and just laying that out for them.
Yeah.
I want my hopes for them to be visible.
Yeah.
I want to live it out.
Sweet. Now
Rob-
that he stole your
Rob
answer.
nailed it. I mean, I was joking about you guys. Rob basically just nailed where I wanted to go with that. So props to you.
Sorry, Blake.
I think just the title alone of our podcast, Every Dad, it's so heavily centered and focused around being a dad and your children and the priority that they should have in your life. And I'm actually pleasantly surprised with how often we've talked about marriage and the importance of parenting together and making sure like I get that everybody's in a different circumstance, whether you've been left or abandoned or something's happened and the marriage hasn't worked out, or maybe you're a single parent, or all these different scenarios can happen. But like the benefit of having those 2 parents involved, and not just being good parents, but like what you said, my kids are watching what it looks like to have a marriage that's worth pursuing and worth having, or setting the example for your daughter on what she should be looking for in a husband. I know we talked about that in an early episode as well. So I've learned that I become a better dad when I'm the best husband I can be, and making sure that as important as my kids are and will be, like because a lot of parents will begin to idolize their kids, right?
Yeah.
They want to live life vicariously through them, or like being a good parent doesn't mean just putting your kids up on a pedestal necessarily and sacrificing everything else around you to make sure, you know what I mean? So my wife is the most important thing in my life right now on this earth. Like me protecting and providing and being there for her, and in turn I'm going to be a better dad because of that. So
Yeah. Ty?
Your children will find a father figure in something.
Yeah, there
Will
we
it be
go.
you?
Remember that?
Yep.
That was when we got really excited.
Yep.
They were like, this is it.
That's right.
We just call it
This is
lightning in
going
a bottle.
somewhere, man.
100%.
Yeah. No, man. Again, we just want to celebrate what God's done. Like it's been interesting, right? Ty, you got anything?
Nope, I'm good.
You got anything else you want to say?
Conscious, now I do, because I need to say that again. Conscious, free, and clear.
There
I'm
you
good.
go.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Rob?
Thanks for coming along the ride with us and growing with us and
Yeah.
being a part of it.
Yep. Blakey boy?
I'm good.
All right. Hey, September. Continue to watch, continue to subscribe and like and follow and all those things. We will be back September 2025. Every Dad Podcast. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. It's been fun. We'll see you in September. See you. Bye.
Bye.